This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. Hopefully, after my last video, you're seeing just how utterly ridiculous this whole situation has become. Once you recognize how the Meghan and Harry saga has manipulated the public, you start to notice how they're steering the narratives through the tabloids. They make us think that the royals are above these tabloids, yet it's clear it's their PR teams who are focused on brand management and controlling how the narrative moves, work closely with them to plant these seeds. Those seeds form part of the psychological conditioning and reinforcement designed to shape what they want you to think and believe. I think we all used to dismiss these gossip rags as not worth taking seriously. But after studying this Harry and Meghan saga, you realize that these tabloid magazines are part of the PR strategies, and they work hand in hand with the palace PR machines. I think the clearest giveaway that we have here is the weekly tabloid cover stories about the royals, complete with the most ridiculous headlines like this one that you're seeing here. You have to ask the question, why do none of these magazines ever get sued? Think about that for a second. Remember when I first pointed out that the seeds for Harry going back home were being planted by the end of 2024, like right around the time we knew Donald Trump was going to win the election? I told everyone the noise about reconciliation and him going back would only get louder because this couple had failed in their mission here. And what's happened since? Every other day, this is all the media talks about. Everything else has been conveniently forgotten, like what happened to Archewell Fugazi philanthropy, or the couple's work with unvetted Muslim refugees, or Harry and Meghan's advocacy against mis and disinformation. Suddenly, none of that exists or comes up in conversation with these propagandists. And what you're seeing now are the same propagandists who have infiltrated the YouTube space. Am I right? James Holt fled the United States as the charity fraud was unraveling, and we're being relentlessly told Harry and Meghan are broke? Come on. There's a reason why that narrative is being pushed, and I believe it's because they don't want people looking into their finances to uncover the real amount of money they were given to push this scam and where it came from, which, in my opinion, likely originated from the taxpayer. We see Harry hiding behind his charities while carrying out his alignment with his pa's government. So many people are asking, what is the end goal, or what was the end goal? Now, I've told you this before. This was always about Donald Trump. The entire story of Harry and Meghan is a lie. And I think more people now are waking up, especially after my last video. But right now, refusing to admit they were duped because the harsh reality hits you right in the stomach. I know it did for me when the penny finally dropped in 2023, because once you see it, you can't go back, and you start noticing the same patterns applied across the rest of the media coverage when it comes to the royal family. Recently, Harry and Meghan haven't been dominating the US tabloids. The focus has shifted heavily to the UK tabloids, with Harry and the headlines of him pushing to return and Meghan not having any of it, trying to resist going back to the family who has treated her so terribly. Now, I get the impression with all of these headlines that they're trying to figure a way to bring Harry back without Meghan, because Meghan really was never supposed to be part of the royal family long term. Meghan came in, did the job that she was supposed to do with the whole cast of supporting characters, and then if it worked out the way that they thought it was going to work out, Meghan would have had some type of political presence here in the United States. Thank God Trump got into office. Let's just say that. Anyhow, this week's story in Heat magazine, as ridiculous as the headline is, it is insightful. And I want to go ahead and read it because it's giving us clues about what may be happening. And you all know I like to go through these articles, not because I believe the narrative they're selling us, but so we can recognize how the PR spin doctors are positioning things and where they're trying to take the public. So get comfortable. Let's go through this and then we'll discuss. Featured this week in Heat News, Kate tells Meghan there's no way back for you. After the king sent an olive branch to Harry and Meghan, not everyone in the family is happy. The article begins, 6 years on from Megxit, the royal rift appears to be thawing after King Charles reunited with the Sussex family in a private summit at Highgrove House on July 10th. Which, by the way, no evidence exists that this meeting ever happened, but this is the narrative that the palace wants you to know so they can continue to keep building off of it and conditioning the public and reinforcing the message that, yeah, things are thawing between Harry and the king. But while the 77-year-old monarch is desperate to get Prince Harry and Meghan Markle back into the fold, an insider tells Heat that Kate Middleton and Prince William are in total and vehement disagreement with the king's decision, saying Kate is sure her husband will not be able to forgive Meghan and Harry for the years of bad blood he believes they caused. I really would like to know when the media is going to stop using Kate Middleton. It's just foolish at this point. But anyhow, William and Kate both believe there are some things that can't be undone, says a source. However much Charles wants everyone to move on, William and Kate don't think it's possible to build bridges without first building trust. And right now, that doesn't exist. The source continues, Charles believes the monarchy has to think long-term, and Harry, Meghan, and the children could still have a role in strengthening the institution if relationships could somehow be repaired. But William and Kate don't see it that way. They feel it won't be solved by putting duty first. Kate is normally incredibly forgiving. She much prefers to forgive and forget rather than hold grudges. But this is completely different. She feels like she was dragged into a very public dispute that she never wanted any part of. She can usually put difficult situations behind her, but she's still carrying the hurt of what happened. She can't file those feelings away just because someone tells her it's better for the monarchy. Royal watchers were thrilled when Harry and Meghan accepted an invitation from King Charles to visit his Gloucestershire estate in early July alongside their two children, Archie Markle and little Betty Markle. The meeting at Highgrove, described by the palace as a private family occasion, was the first time Charles had seen his youngest grandchildren since the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations in June 2022, his only prior meeting with little Betty. Perhaps as a way for the Sussexes to prove they could be trusted, no details of the last-minute meeting have been leaked, aside from the fact it lasted for an hour or so, with Harry and Meghan both reportedly sworn to secrecy by the king. But although the visit went well, the relationship between Harry and William remains as fractured as ever. It's so broken, revealed a source. There has been no movement, especially on William's side. There is no contact. The alleged tension between the Sussexes and Wales has been well documented since their jarring first meeting, despite the heir and his wife apparently being regular, nay, religious viewers of Meghan's popular legal drama Suits. In one of the many bombshells dropped since she and Harry stepped down as senior royals in 2020, Meghan described how tensions soured in the run-up to her and Harry's wedding, saying she believed reports that she had made Kate cry in a dispute over a bridesmaid's dress were leaked preemptively when it was Kate who made Meghan cry. You see how utterly ridiculous this is? What are we, 5? They continuously bring up things that are so superficial while ignoring all the other serious stuff. They never talk about the death threats from the Sussex squad, nor have we seen William and Catherine ever take any kind of action against them. Right? It makes you wonder. Really does. In his 2023 memoir, Spare, Harry also recalled how Kate said she was owed an apology from her sister-in-law after Meghan joked Kate had baby brain, allegedly telling the Duchess she and her weren't close enough for you to talk about my hormones. Again, another stupid, superficial story that seems utterly ridiculous to me. Harry also detailed an incident where he and William had a physical altercation after he lost his cool and branded Meghan difficult, rude, and abrasive. The prince also claimed in his and Meghan's Netflix series that his older brother had screamed at him in front of their grandmother in January 2020 after Harry revealed his plan to leave the UK with Meghan. It is these instances, which our insider says, have led to a total lack of trust. Kate felt unable to defend herself after the television interviews and everything that came afterwards. The insinuations, the repeated references to the family, and the speculation that surrounded her. She found that incredibly difficult to forget. She can't just rebuild the broken trust because it's politically convenient. People often assume William is the emotional one because he's naturally more outspoken, but Kate has been carrying this quietly for years. She was hurt by the way events unfolded and the public narrative surrounding her. She feels she became collateral damage in someone else's story. The source continues, Charles has repeatedly encouraged William and Kate to separate their personal feelings from what he believes is best for the monarchy. He worries about its long-term future and believes unity would strengthen it. But William has made it absolutely clear to both his father and senior aides that there is no way back unless the Sussexes properly acknowledge the damage they've done. From his perspective, asking everyone to move on without that isn't reconciliation. It's denying anything happened. He's told Charles that he can't move on without that. Too much damage has been done. So now we're being introduced to this but. If Harry and Meghan somehow acknowledge the damage that they've done, only then it's possible. This is where this is going. So in some form, in some way, we're going to get some type of half-assed, oh yeah, we messed up. We acknowledge that we were wrong, but in a way that's not going to be satisfying to the public. Watch, the gaslighting here is going to be off the charts when this happens. The insider says William is also sticking up for his wife. He knows how much it affected Kate, and seeing how hurt she's been has made him more determined to hold his brother accountable. He can't separate his public and family life for the sake of constitutional duty. Before Harry and Meghan left for America, things between the couples appeared amicable, with them once being dubbed the Fab Four. Meghan and Kate attended Wimbledon together in 2018 and 2019, and Harry wrote that the Princess of Wales was the sister I'd never had and always wanted, describing her as carefree, sweet, and kind. The Duke has also been vocal about restoring the relationship with his family, telling the BBC in May of 2025, I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. And it appears Harry is inching closer to his wish, as we're told that at the invitation of Charles, the Sussexes could be set to join the rest of the royals on their annual summer holiday at their Scottish estate, Balmoral. Our source says, as both a father and head of state, the king still believes reconciliation is possible. He worries about the image of a permanently divided royal family and believes future generations should have the opportunity to know one another. Charles doesn't see Archie and little Betty as outsiders. He talks about them as part of the family's future, and if relationships are repaired, they could eventually help strengthen the monarchy. He believes every generation matters when it comes to protecting the crown, and having Harry's children connected to royal life would only make it stronger. He's trying to build a bridge between the Wales and Sussex families, even suggesting that there should be a meeting between them at Balmoral. Ding, 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 ding. What did I tell everybody? What did I tell everybody? If indeed they go down this path and the Harkles end up at Balmoral, or Harry ends up at Balmoral without Meghan and the two kids, we're going to get these whispers of how Charles made Harry and William sit down together and break bread. Some bullshit. If it doesn't happen at Balmoral, you better believe that this is the narrative they'll push at Christmas. What better timing than to do it at Christmas, to exploit Christianity and how forgiving we are as Christians, right? Anyway, finishing off, it says, but when William and Kate have consistently told him this plan won't work, the source adds, they understand why Charles keeps trying and they respect the fact that he's looking at the bigger picture. But every time the conversation comes up, they reach the same conclusion. Their feeling is there's no way back. And then, as so many times we've seen before, the narrative will do a 180 and we're going to see the headlines. Oh, this is the king's dying wish. He wants his sons to reconcile before he passes. And they're going to use him dying of cancer as the reason for why we're going to see the ice thaw between William and Harry. And then before you know it, breaking headlines all around the world, Prince William showing up to Invictus Games 2027 with Prince Harry. If all of this goes down the path that I think it's going to go down based off of these little seeds that they're trying to plant here, I think a lot of times when they put these stories out, it's to gauge the sentiment of the public on whether or not Meghan would be welcome back or how the temperature is around Harry and Prince William reconciling and the role that Catherine will have to play here in this narrative. They're definitely going to have to come up with something because as you are watching, all of this is starting to unravel, especially yesterday showing you that video of Doria's sister. You're seeing how they blatantly lied to everybody, all of them. And I'm going to go ahead and include the royal family here on this because of the monarch's access to all of this intelligence like MI5, MI6, Scotland Yard, the FBI, possibly the CIA. You mean to tell me that they didn't know whoever this woman that we're calling Meghan Markle was and her background, especially the cast of characters that call themselves the Markles and the Raglins? If me, a simple YouTuber, could find information on the public domain, think about what MI6 and MI5 and Scotland Yard could have access to. Seriously, we're to believe that they didn't know anything about what this woman was about and that her whole backstory was a lie? Come on. And now we have these circus monkey reporters going around telling all these bullshit stories, not even bothering to correct any of it. Just tells you that all they were doing was pushing out the preferred narrative from the very same people who are claiming that they are above it all. Give me a break. I think at this point, it's okay to be frustrated that nothing has been done about these two. And what is concerning to me is seeing all of this transparency and things coming to light and no accountability is happening. I think we all have to accept that the media or the mainstream media is never going to come forward and acknowledge that they manipulated and duped the public. They're never going to do that because look at the other things that the media has been complicit with that we don't hear any type of reporting on, such as the recent announcement about the foreign interference with our 2020 election, as well now with Dr. Fauci. Do we see the media reporting on any of that stuff? No. So I would say expect the same here while the media tries to cover up and paint a new narrative for all of us to believe in order to bring Harry back home with minimal diplomatic chaos. Because if indeed it does come out, and let's say the media all of a sudden decides to have some level of integrity to report the truth, this could collapse the relationship between the United States and the UK. Because when you really think about it, Harry's involvement here in the United States and the people and groups that he's been supporting that have been undermining the United States is not a good look for the UK at this moment. And I think that's a big reason why we don't see anyone talking about it. That's why independent voices matter so much. I don't know about you, but I particularly don't like when people lie to us, especially if there's an agenda behind it. And with the royal family and this whole mess with Harry and Meghan, I refuse to accept the excuse that the royal family didn't know or they had nothing to do with it. I think any reasonable and educated person who has followed every detail from the very beginning up until now has every right to be suspicious and to come to the conclusion that the royal family knew and were a part of this whole hoax. That's how I feel based off of everything that we've looked at, everything that they put out there for the public to see. I was not the one who put out all of these Photoshop photos. I didn't put this alleged wedding photo of Doria and Thomas with mystery feet hanging out from Doria, but nobody behind her. Again, Caroline Graham is the one who's behind publishing these photos. Caroline Graham has been behind pretty much all of the pictures and articles that caused a lot of controversy, such as the staged paparazzi photos, the ones that ruined, allegedly, Thomas Markle's relationship with his alleged daughter. Does it make any kind of sense that you would trust the journalist who ruined your relationship with your daughter to show her the full letter of what Meghan wrote and then allow her to publish parts of it, kicking off this full drama about how Meghan's privacy was invaded, kicking off Meghan's lawsuit against the Daily Mail? Now, I'm going to leave you with this last piece to allow you to chew on it and tell me in the comment section what you think is going on here. But when we go back to one of the first articles that Caroline Graham wrote back in 2017, it was December 2nd, to be exact, the article in which allegedly this woman spoke to Joseph Johnson, Doria's half-brother, which now I don't even think exists. But what I found very peculiar was the photos that Caroline included of Thomas Markle and Doria allegedly getting married at the spiritual center. But the caption is what caught my attention, where it says here, the faux Indian temple adorned with gold orb top turrets, stoned elephants, and plastic Buddhas, where they got married, pictured, is a stone's throw from where Hugh Grant was infamously caught with prostitute Divine Brown. If you don't remember, back in 1995, Hugh Grant was caught with his pants down, literally. And ever since then, Hugh Grant has been hell-bent on taking down Rupert Murdoch's empire. It was Hugh Grant who started the nonprofit called Hacked Off. He sued The Sun and settled out of court in 2024. Hugh Grant was also part of the recent Daily Mail lawsuit with Harry that just lost. So I find it peculiar that Caroline Graham puts this random fact in that had nothing to do with this article about Hugh Grant, who later went on to go ahead and sue these papers. So now I'm starting to wonder, and I think it's appropriate to ask the question, did they know all along that this so-called letter that Meghan allegedly wrote her father, that was partially shared in the Daily Mail by Caroline Graham, did they know all along this was eventually going to trigger off a lawsuit against the Daily Mail? I somehow feel that. I do think that all of these lawsuits against the Rupert Murdoch newspapers has something to do with the quick settlements that were happening before Harry and Meghan took on these papers. And I think both Harry and Meghan with these lawsuits thought that they were going to be able to settle out of court with some massive lump sum. I think similar to what happened with William. If I had to guess, I think all of the participants in this scam thought they were going to get paid, including Caroline Graham. Now, over the last 10 years with Harry and Meghan, we've seen a lot of conflicting stories, but the one topic that they have been consistent and have been relentless about is the media and controlling the narrative. But it's not just Harry and Meghan who are fixated on the media. The Markles, too, are also fixated from an opposition standpoint. But their argument was the same as Meghan's, pushing for the same thing. You know, we're looking at some very dangerous people that want to take away your rights and freedoms. They played us all, they really did. But it doesn't matter because now we know better, hopefully, and not to fall for it again. This whole saga was always about preventing Donald Trump from getting into office and eroding that Constitution, taking away our freedoms, starting with freedom of speech and freedom of press. And that's what Harry and Meghan have been focused on, and I hate to say it, but was successful at. From the word go, Caroline Graham's involvement here needs to be looked at. Anyhow, those are just some of my thoughts, but what do you guys think? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.